If you're a fan of vintage toys and action figures, you're not going to want to miss this one because we are taking another deep dive into my favorite toy line of all time, M.U.S.C.L.E. What's up, Internet? Every Single M.U.S.C.L.E. here. Today, we're jumping into part 3 of my Every Single M.U.S.C.L.E. figure compilation countdown. If you missed parts 1 and 2, don't worry, I linked them in the show notes below. But in this video, we're taking a look at the next 50 M.U.S.C.L.E. figures, numbers 101 through 150. Some really great ones in this batch, so I say we just get to it. And just like that, we're at figure number 101, God Caesar, or God Shisa. I'm a big fan of this figure. I really like his glorious mane and beard, his little nostril holes. He looks kind of ticked off. To me, he always reminds me of Dr. Zaius from Planet of the Apes, especially in this kind of orange color. Though in truth, he's based on something from Japanese folklore, the Okinawan dog guardians known as Shisa, which is also where his name is derived from. As far as the character goes, he's not really much of a role in the anime or manga series. He might pop up in the background in the manga, but he still, of course, made his way into the encyclopedia. But let's just take one more look at this awesome little figure. Who could have seen it coming? It's another Every Single M.U.S.C.L.E., and this time it's number 102, Mapman. Mapman. I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. But let's move on and talk about the figure. As you can see, he is a map-based superhero Chojin. He has got the map of the world on him. There's Africa, there's Eurasia there's a little bit of Australia in the corner. I can assume the Americas are on here somewhere, although I don't exactly see it. Figure-wise, very cool figure. He's got this cape. He's got this globe-like head. I'm not sure what the little V-shaped boomerang on his forehead is, but it gives him a little bit of a face in a way. Very cool figure. Character-wise, not sure this dude shows up anywhere of significance in the anime or manga series, but let's not spend too much time worrying about that, and let's just focus on the fact that he makes for a great toy. What's this? Could it be? It is! It's another Every Single M.U.S.C.L.E., and this time we're here with number 103, Black Hole. Now, Black Hole's a pretty great figure at a glance. He's got this little star on his belt. He's got his initials, BH, on his chest for Black Hole. But most importantly, there's a hole in his face. You can literally look through this figure, and that's what makes this M.U.S.C.L.E. stand out from the rest. Pretty great toy, if you ask me. Now, if you're asking about the character itself, Black Hole's a pretty major recurring character in the Kinnikuman manga and anime series. He's a member of the 7 Devil Chojin, alongside Buffaloman and Springman and Atlantis and a couple of the others. He creates a lot of trouble for some of our heroes, but he also occasionally gets a little heroic arc. Mostly, though, he's a pretty evil dude, and his hole on his face functions like a black hole. It can suck you right in, and it can teleport you. It's got all kinds of powers. If you like that, check out the anime on Netflix. He gets some cool moments. Why stop now when we're having so much fun? It's M.U.S.C.L.E. figure number 104, Buka B. Now I'll get this out of the way right now. This is not a character that appears in the manga. He's exclusive to anime movie number 1 and therefore doesn't show up in the encyclopedia. Now, in that movie, he is a minion of the character Octopus Dragon III, who we've already covered. And Buka is not a name even. He's unnamed. Buka just means minion or subordinate. So that's all there is to really say about this guy. He shows up, he gets beat up, and that's the end of it. Now, figure-wise, I'm not going to say he's nondescript, but he is just kind of human-looking. That said, he does have this particularly odd haircut. He's got a sinister face, and he has really cool boots and knee pads. And he's also kind of a bulky figure. You may not be able to tell in the picture, but he's got some heft to him. He's kind of wide. So overall, pretty cool figure. And as a kid, you don't know that he's just a minion. You can make him any character you wanted. Hey, look at this. It's another Every Single M.U.S.C.L.E., and this time it's number 105, Buffaloman, a.k.a. Terrible. Now, to me, this is kind of the classic Buffaloman figure. This is the first one that pops into my head because it was the first one I ever owned. I got mine in a 28-pack, the number 2 Cosmic Crunchers set. So I had this guy and 27 other figures in various different colors. But not long after that, my aunt and uncle picked up for me the same exact 28-pack, but in the classic pink color. So I had duplicates of all of these guys. And sometimes I'd lose one or I'd lose the other, and it was good that I always had kind of a backup because they didn't all survive. But somehow, some way, these two did survive from my childhood, and here they are standing today. Let's talk about the figure before we go. It's just so great. He's got this kind of Letterman jacket with the big letter B on it. He's got his classic horns and his awesome hairdo and his leg warmers. Just awesome. What's up with this figure, number 106, Chojin wearing iron sweats? Well, if you can't gather from his name, he's not actually a character, he's really more of a concept. You see, in the past, throughout history, the Justice Chojin superheroes would punish those who they felt betrayed them and betrayed the ideas of trust and friendship and greatness, and they did that by making them wear these kind of torturous iron suits. So that's what this figure is, that's what it represents. My history with this toy, however, goes like this. I had kind of been done collecting muscles. I was already 10 or 11, and they weren't really in the stores anymore. But one day, my parents made friends with these people at the swim club who had like a little girl who was several years younger than us. And one day she came over, and I didn't like having to kind of babysit, but she found this somewhere. And she didn't know what it was, and I knew exactly what it was, and I wanted it so bad. And so she ended up leaving it at our place, and hey, there it is. It joined the collection. I know you can't resist another every single muscle, especially when we're talking about number 106, Sunshine. This is kind of the Sunshine Pyramid, as they refer to him sometimes, and that's because, well, he's just a pyramid. He's a triangle with a head on top, and I've had this green one since I was just a little kid. He came in a 4-pack, as I recall. They probably also came in 10-packs, if I had to guess. I don't know off the top of my head, but I've always loved this figure. I'm going to show you him in different angles here. His head's at a certain angle, so he doesn't exactly ever face exactly forward. He's always either down or up or a different way. I always like that you can kind of put him up like this and like stand him like a tree, which, as you can see, is not as easy as I am making it out to be. But maybe that's because of all the wear and tear I've had on this toy over the years because I played with him so much. And can I spin him? Not really, but there's another one that you definitely can spin. It's a holiday Thanksgiving edition of Every Single Muscle, and this is number 108, Wolfman, aka Rikishiman. So, Rikishiman or Wolfman, he's one of the main characters in the series, or at least he's one of Kinnikuman's closest friends. He's in this circle. In the anime, he's referred to as Rikishiman, whereas typically he's referred to as Wolfman. I'm not sure exactly why that was changed for the anime, but it definitely makes him more associated with sumo and less with wolf things, because he doesn't deliver on that. Just taking a look at him, though, this is kind of like a sumo champion version of him, right? He's got this sash, he's got this, I don't want to call it a skirt, but I don't know exactly what it's called. But whereas typically he's in more of a standard sumo wrestler attire, and there is a figure of him looking like that, but this is kind of the more, fancy garb, if you will. Don't you wish your turkey came with 6 turkey legs? It's another Every Single Muscle, and this time it's number 109, Ashuraman's father. So yeah, at a quick glance, you'd probably just assume this is another Ashuraman figure, but oh, no, don't be fooled. This is his daddy, and you can tell because he's got this cape, and he looks that much more evil. It's Ashuraman's father. We're back with a Black Friday edition of Every Single Muscle, and this time it's number 110, Kinnikuman, aka Muscleman himself. Now, we've seen a few different Kinnikuman and Muscleman sculpts throughout the line so far. This one's very different than those. For one, he's definitely looking a bit bulkier. He's kind of flexing. He's got these big upper arm muscles. He's also in this singlet, which has the Japanese flag on it, or at least I think that's the Japanese flag and not some sort of weird camera-shaped thing. His mask also has some damage to the side of it, as you can see right there. And he looks like he's sweating. He's going through some trouble. I don't remember the exact story arc that this particular version of him takes place during, but he obviously gets injured in that arc. And it made for a really cool toy. There are still more Muscleman figures in the line so far, including the one that I think is the quintessential Muscleman figure. So stick around. We'll get to him soon. We're back with another Every Single Muscle, and this time it's number 111, Akuma Shogun, a.k.a. General Devil. And I think we can say pretty definitively that this is a badass toy. This guy's looking awesome and intimidating as hell. He's got armor that's covered in scales. He's got a really scary mask with 3 horns protruding from it. His arms are outstretched, a lot wider than most of the other muscle figures, and coming out from each of those arms, protruding from the knuckles, are these crazy looking sword knife things. I don't exactly know what they are, but they look awesome as hell. We've last talked about Akuma Shogun when we talked about his other figure. I think we can say, putting them next to each other side by side, 111 definitely has the edge. He's bulkier, he's scarier, he's more intimidating, and overall just a really great figure. Damn, I love muscle figures. We're going to keep things rolling with figure number 112, Sneagator. Now, we've talked about this character before. He's shown up several different times, but just as a little recap, Sneagator is a character that transforms because he's got some sort of shape-shifting abilities, but he can only turn into lizards or things related to sneakers and shoes and for some reason hands or claws, which of course we'll get into when we get to the claw figure. But this particular Sneagator is this chameleon version of him. You can see very much he's got those chameleon eyes. He's got this long, scary tongue. As a toy, it's so damn cool. He's covered in these little scales that protrude. So much detail. Really intimidating, scary looking figure. I gotta say, I'm personally a fan. I love it. We're back with another Every Single Muscle, and this time it's number 113, Kinnikuman Super Phoenix. So as you can see with this guy, he's got all of these intricate, fine detail lines all over his chest and his back and his arms and his shoulders and even on his face. So that's kind of how you distinguish him from any of the other Kinnikuman or Kinnikuman-esque characters in the line. He also appears to have a pair of shorts over a pair of pants. And if that is confusing to you, it should be. The original character himself also has that very strange design. It almost looks like he's wearing some cut-off jean shorts over a pair of long pants. It's really weird. I never really understood the design choice. Little background on the character. He is one of the 5 fated princes who come out and compete with Kinnikuman for his throne, all claiming to be the true, heir to the Kinniku planet throne. This guy becomes kind of the number one antagonist for Kinnikuman in that plot, but ultimately, our hero prevails. We're back with muscle figure number 114, Pandaman. And if I'm being honest, when I was a little kid, this was one of my favorite characters. I played with him as one of the main characters of my muscle stories all throughout my childhood. But I called him Bear Man. I couldn't tell if he was a panda because there's no color scheme on these things. Now, taking a look at the toy itself, it's just a regular muscle human wrestler body with a bear head on top, and that's just the way I like it. I wouldn't change a thing about it. I'd still rank it up there as one of the best figures, no matter how stupid it may be. Now, as far as the character goes, this is a character that shows up in the manga and anime really early on, and it's actually just a man in a panda costume. He's a popular superhero on TV for children, and Kinnikuman mistakes him for an actual Chojin superhero, and I think he gets beat up as a result of that. Back to the figure, though. Take one last look at him. Look at his stupid face. Isn't it awesome? Every Single Muscle returns with figure number 115, Moku Moku Jin, the wooden Chojin. As you can see, he's very much made of wood. His head is made of wood. His eyes and arms and body and chest, all made up of wood or slices of wood or pieces of tree bark. You can see all this very deliberate, detailed wood grain throughout his body, and I think it makes for a pretty great figure. As far as the character goes, very minor character, background character at best. He might pop up in the background of a panel or two in the manga. I'm not sure he shows up in the anime in any way, shape, or form. I think it is worth mentioning, though, that there's a similar character in the Tekken franchise who has a very similar name called Moku Jin, but they're not related. Or maybe they are. I don't know. Have no fear, Every Single Muscle's here, and this time it's number 116, Kinnikuman Soldier. Now, taking a look at this figure here, he's definitely got some interesting attire. He's got all these snaps and buttons on him. He's also wearing a pretty cool mask with something familiar on it, your kind of standard Kinnikuman head fin. And if you're wondering why that is, it's because he's actually one of the 5 fated princes who challenged Kinnikuman for his throne. And if you want to know a little bit more about that, through some convoluted piece of storytelling, we come to learn that he's actually the long-lost older brother of Kinnikuman, who his parents never told him about. Oh my God, is it true? It's true. They ultimately fight and then, in the end, become friends and allies and brothers in arms. Not too much of a surprise when it's a show about the strength of friendship. Every Single Muscle rolls on with figure number 117, Rollerman. And I know a lot of you guys are going to like this one. I certainly do. He's got these 2 big rollers in the middle of his chest. You can see him coming out through the other side in his back. He's got these little spiked wristlets and anklet bracelet things. He's a really cool figure, and you can't really tell because he's not standing next to another at the moment, but he is extra bulky, which is just the way I like my muscle figures, big and blocky and bulky and looking like they can smash something. Character-wise, Rollerman for a long time wasn't very much of a character at all, although there is a kind of novella series in the Kinnikuman franchise called Deep of Muscle, and in that, they kind of expanded his character and he became kind of a mentor to Sunshine and taught Sunshine the roller technique that he uses several times throughout the series. So if you see him using that, he learned it from this guy, Rollerman. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. Every single muscle's back with figure number 118, ICBM. Now, I'm a big fan of this figure. I like that he has this kind of ninja-esque vibe, right? He's got this very plain mask that obscures what his features look like underneath. You don't know what he looks like under there. He's got this Japanese character on his forehead. He's got these little accoutrements all over his body, these ovular diamond-looking things that kind of adorn him all over. And, of course, the letters ICBM on his chest, which doubles as his name. Intercontinental Ballistic Missile is what ICBM stands for, if you're not familiar. So I assume he has some sort of explosive powers, but we couldn't say for sure because, in truth, he's a very background character, a minor character, just a character submission in the 80s that never got any further character development. We don't really know, story-wise, what this guy would do, but I like to imagine he blows stuff up. Every single muscle's coming back at you with figure number 119, Bermuda III, or at least it's the first of the Bermuda III. This guy, of course, has a little oval on his face, whereas his brothers, the other Bermuda III, have different shapes on their faces. I won't spoil it. We'll get to them eventually. But what links them together, of course, is the letter B and the Roman numeral 3 on the chests, and also the overall design. This guy's got his arms outstretched, which makes him a little bit different. I had this red Bermuda III and his two brothers from my original number 4 28-pack Cosmic Showdown when I was a little kid, and so I've had them all along. I've always had a Bermuda III in my set, and I hope you guys do too. Character-wise, very minor characters. I believe they show up in a Deep of Muscle novella story, and they are revealed to be cousins of Black Hole, and I think there's like an antagonistic relationship there. I'm not entirely sure, but hey, take a look at the first of the Bermuda III. Every single muscle chugs on with figure number 120, Cactusman. Now, taking a look at this guy, I've always been a big fan of him. He's a legend in my toy box. I've had this guy since my second 28-pack, the number 2 Cosmic Crunchers set, and I've got him in this red color here. Really great figure. He's kind of plain looking, I know that. He doesn't even have a face to speak of other than the eyes, but that little thing on top of his head that I guess is a cactus, although also resembles coral. I always thought it always reminded me as a little kid, at least, of the what do you call them dangly bits underneath a chicken's face? Yeah, that. So I always called him Rooster Man. The redness is probably lending itself to that. Character-wise, very minor. I believe he shows up in one of the Olympic arcs in Kinnikuman franchise, and he gets defeated pretty definitively. But, you know, what do we care about that? He's a great little toy. I know I say this about a lot of muscle figures, but I think number 121, Hunting, may be one of my absolute favorite in the line. He's also sometimes referred to as The Hunting. I've also seen him listed as Hunting Man, but I think that's wishful thinking. Unfortunately, all the official merch I can find lists him as a verb ending in ing as just The Hunting. But who cares about that? He is a cool as hell figure. He is a General Sherman tank built into man form. He is a Chojin superhero, but he's actually a big old tank. And I've had this guy since way back when, since my first 28-pack, and I wouldn't trade him for the world. He is so cool. And I love him in this red color, and I'm sure he looks great in other colors too. Character-wise, I don't think this dude does anything in the anime or manga series. Background character at best, if I had to guess. But hey, he's still there. He showed up, and he was immortalized in toy form. Thank goodness. Every single muscle's back with figure number 122. It's Kinnikuman again. It's Muscle Man. You know this guy. He's popped up several times before. This is kind of the goofiest version of him. Maybe the silliest looking face that it made it at least into the muscle line of figures. You know, pretty cool though. I don't have any particular notes on him. I'll just give a little backstory for me. You know, this is a character that comes in the 28-pack Cosmic Showdown, which, as I've said before, was the first pack that I ever got of muscle figures, except I lost mine. He, as well as figures number 8 and I want to say 62, if I'm getting those numbers right, those dudes were lost to time for me early on in my collecting days. And so only 25 of my original 28-pack survived. And so this guy I picked up when trying to re-complete my collection, or finally complete my collection. And that is the history of me and this muscle figure. It's another Every Single Muscle, and this time it's number 123, Geronimo. And I'm pretty sure this is the first Geronimo figure in the line, although there is at least one more. I'm a big fan of this toy. It's a pretty cool one. He's got this long flowing hair and this headband. He covers up his eyes, but he's still got this big mouth. He's letting out a big scream, a big cry, and it's actually an Apache war cry because Geronimo is the Native American pal of Kinnikuman and friends. He is one of the Justice Chojin, a recurring main superhero character, although he tends to be kind of at the bottom of their pecking order. He gets his ass beat pretty frequently compared to the other guys. He's usually like the first line of defense against the bad guys. But really, just a great figure and an amazing toy. I mean, just the big wide open mouth is really what does it, right? Hey, cool, it's another Every Single Muscle, and this time it's number 124, Foxman. Now, I didn't have a Foxman figure growing up. I picked this guy up years later when I was actually completing my muscle collection, but I think if I had grown up with him, he would have been my favorite toy in the whole line. This guy's really great, especially in this blue color. What I like about him, obviously the fox head with the F on top. He also has the word fox written on his shorts here, which I didn't notice until just now. And he's got these like furry wristlets and anklets, so he's actually got a lot more going for him than, say, the Bearman figure, which was one of my favorite figures growing up. So that said, pretty dope toy. Character-wise, very, very minor character, background character at best, popped up just maybe once as an initial character submission, and not sure if he ever even showed up again, but he's in the encyclopedia. But, you know, that doesn't matter much when you've got a toy as awesome as this one. It's another Every Single Muscle. This time it's figure number 125, Buka A. Now, I like this guy. If we just take a look at the figure here, he's pretty dang cool. He's looking pretty evil and mischievous. He's got a long cape. He's got a bald head and a low brow, and he's got, I don't know, what do you call that? I'm going to call it like a war skirt and boots. He's just looking overall ready to fight with his one fist up. Big fan of the toy. Character-wise, this is not much of a character. We talked about the Bukas before. They are merely minions for Octopus Dragon III in the first Kinnikuman movie, so they don't have names of their own. Buka just means minion or follower or something to that extent, and so he's one of those. But you know, we don't really, in truth, care much about the backstories of these toys because what matters is your own imagination when you're playing with muscle figures as a kid or even as an adult.
Invasion of the muscle things. They've come to drive America nuts. They're ugly, they're weird, they're tiny, they're terrible. And they're pink! There are hundreds of them. It's an epidemic. I'm going crazy!
We're catch them!
Muscle things. Hundreds of different, I don't know whats. They run in packs of 4, 10, or 28. Sold separately, new from Mattel. How many can you capture?
Hey Internet, if you don't already, why not subscribe to the channel? We're talking every single muscle. We're talking every single battle beast. We're going on hunts for vintage toys, and we're doing deep dives into some of the most obscure and delightful toy lines out there. If you like collecting action figures from the 80s, 90s, and beyond, hit like, smash subscribe, click the little bell doodad, and leave some comments below. I want to talk toys with you guys, so just do it. Let me tell you something, brother. It's time for another Every Single Muscle. And this time we're here with number 126, Quarrelman, a.k.a. Kenkaman. And I think it's pretty obvious. This is a pretty blatant Hulk Hogan ripoff, right? He's got his signature mustache, his long flowing locks, his cleft chin, his tank top, and his wrestling gear. It's Hulk Hogan. And that's because prior to coming to WWF in the 1980s, Hulk Hogan actually had a pretty prominent career in Japan. He left a big impression over there. And so the creators of Kinnikuman modeled this character after him. The character itself, of course, is actually the true identity of Neptune Man, a different character that we've covered before. So the only real difference between Quarrelman and Hulk Hogan is this guy's British. But you wouldn't tell from the figure. He just looks like a Hulk Hogan little minifigure. And hey, I'm not complaining. I'm happy to have him in my collection. Every Single Muscle's back with figure number 127, Junkman. Now, I'm not being biased when I say this is the cooler of the two Junkman figures in the line. Number 53 doesn't quite hold up when you put them side by side, which is what I'll do now. As you can see, the 127 is just a bigger, bulkier figure in every single way. He's got more mass. His trash compactor arms are larger too, and he's also got extra spikes on his chest, which the earlier Junkman does not. So he definitely has the edge of the two figures, if you ask me. And it's not just because he's looking awesome in red, although I do think that that adds a lot to it. Just a reminder, Junkman, he's one of the 6 Devil Knights. He shows up several times in the anime and manga series. He's a really cool character, but I'm not sure his character is nearly as cool as this figure that I'm holding right here. Moving right along, we're at figure number 128. This is Smile Man, or as I used to call him, Laugh Man or Laughing Man, and I think you can see why. It's because he's got these smiling, laughing faces all over him, all over his head, his shoulders, and his chest. Gives him a lot of personality. It makes for a great figure, and it kind of reminds me of Giggles cookies now that I think about it, which I haven't thought about in years. Do you remember those? Those were delicious little funny cookies. But that's besides the point. The point is this is a pretty great figure, and as far as character goes, Smile Man is a very minor character. I believe he shows up in the second of the Chojin Olympics arcs, and he might show up a little bit later in the manga series in some small capacity. But the truth of the matter is they adopted all of these characters into toys. So when I say, oh, it's a pretty minor character, which I seem to say a lot, it's just because they took all of these guys and turned them into toys. And fact of the matter is, I am not complaining about that one bit. Every single muscle's back with figure number 129, Ashuraman. And I know we've touched on Ashuraman before. We've seen his character pop up a few different times in the series so far, but for me, this is the quintessential Ashuraman figure. This is the one that I've had ever since I was a little kid. It was part of my second 28-pack, the Cosmic Crunchers 28-pack, and I have him here in this gorgeous red color. He just looks so badass and sadistic. He's got all his arms as you'd expect. He's got faces on every side of his head. He's got this kind of cool skirt thing. He just looks pissed off and ready to go, and for me that really makes him take the cake as far as all the Assuramans go. Although he's not the last one we'll see. There are one or two others down the line that we will encounter, so stay tuned. I'm here with muscle figure number 130, M.U.S.C.L.E, and at first glance, I don't really know what's going on with this guy, right? He's got this visor, he's got some sort of ascot or scarf blowing in the wind. He's got an interesting outfit. He's got the letter R on his forehead, but I don't know what the letter R stands for. And frankly, I don't know what his name M.U.S.C.L.E means either. But I do know that I've had this guy since my very first 28-pack when I was a little kid, the Cosmic Showdown 28-pack. And I've had him in the sky blue color, so I'm a big fan of him. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for him. Character-wise, he's not much of a character at all. In the encyclopedia, he shows up, but in the anime and manga, he doesn't do very much of anything. Yeah, true story, interesting story. When I was a kid, I used to play him as a good guy, and at one point I made the decision to turn him into the bad guy side for reasons I don't know. And strangely enough, in the encyclopedia, he's a flip-flopper in the same way. He turned from good guy to bad guy and back and forth. And at least that's what it says in the encyclopedia, so strange coincidence. Every single muscle returns to figure number 131, Ukon. And I gotta say, this is a pretty great figure. He's got a lot going for him. He's kind of a lizard, but he's in samurai ninja gear. He's got this helmet that has a big spike on top. He's got 3 fingers on each hand, very alien-like, and he's also got this elongated lizard face, so he's pretty damn cool. He definitely stands out as an original sculpt in the muscle line. Character-wise, Ukon only shows up in the first Kinnikuman anime movie. Originally, in the manga series, there's a different character named Ukon. Funny thing is, Ukon actually is a reference to poop, so he's kind of a big poop joke. And strangely enough, there's another Ukon character in every single Kinnikuman movie. Each movie features a different character with a reference to Ukon or Ukon Jr. or Ukanusuke, and they're oftentimes voiced by Yuta Tamago, the duo who created Kinnikuman in the first place. So there you go, big poop joke. We're back with another one. It's number 132, Screw Kid. And I hope TikTok doesn't ding me over that. If you take a look at this guy, you can see he's actually got a screw for a head, or at least a hex bolt screw for a head, and you can see he's got those screw grooves on his tights and on his gloves and on his boots. So he's a pretty damn cool figure, and I've had this one since I was a kid. And so as to not be biased, I will admit this guy is the lesser of the 2 Screw Kid sculpts, if you ask me, because the other one, well, I don't want to give anything away. We'll get to that eventually, but that's a pretty cool one too. Character-wise, Screw Kid shows up first in the first tag arc as a partner of Pandaman, who is the Ball and Cup Chojin. The two of them are perfect Chojin who try to take down Kinnikuman and friends, but ultimately fall pretty quickly. There are some bigger, badder guys in that story arc. But hey, who cares about any of that? Take a look at this figure. He's really cool. I think it's also worth noting that there's a few different tool characters, and he's one of them. We're going to crank out one more of these today. This is figure number 133, Buka C. Taking a look at this guy, he definitely looks like he's up to something, right? He's a sneaky little son of a something. And he's got his shoulder pads that are spikes on him. He's got this cool, mohawk fin, an evil, snarky smile on his face. His feet are wrapped up in tape, and he's got these big muscular arms. So definitely a pretty cool figure, but not much of a character. As with the other Bukas we've seen before, he's merely an unnamed minion of Octopus Dragon III in the first Kinnikuman movie. He's not much of a character at all, but, he makes for a really great figure. Well, here's a great one. It's number 134, American Football Boss. And as his name implies, he's exactly that. He's a football player. He's got all the attire. He's got all the gear. He's got a big helmet with horns on the side. He's got the big football in his hand. He's fully equipped and ready to go. He looks like a linebacker that's going to kick your butt. Character-wise, very minor character that only exists in the first Kinnikuman movie as one of the many minions of Octopus Dragon III. He actually leads a whole group of other football wrestlers, and it resulted in this awesome figure. So there's no denying that it's a worthwhile endeavor, because you don't get a lot of guys with a jockstrap. Yep, that's what I said. Yeah, we're getting into some really weird-ass figures now. This is muscle figure number 135, Kyoaku Chojin B. I'll explain the name later, but first, take a look at this dude. Just a truly strange, bizarre figure. He's got this head of an old man. He's got this fishnet-looking shirt. He's got these weird spike claw arm things that look like he could stab through you. There are eyes on his waist for reasons I can't explain. There's another one on the back. He might even be wearing a thong. I'm not sure about that. He's bald on top. He's super evil and intimidating looking. Just a freaking weird-ass toy. When I played with this guy as a kid, I actually made him one of the good guys, because something about my brain just wanted to play counter to what he looks like on the surface, which is blatantly evil old man. Now let's get to the character here. This is another one of the nameless minions for Octopus Dragon III in the first Kinnikuman film. Kyoaku Chojin just means evil Chojin or villainous Chojin or something like that. Strange thing with this guy, different than the Bukas, is that Kyoaku Chojin B is the only of the three that are in the muscle figure line. Kyoaku Chojin A has a figure in Kinnikuman form, but never made it to muscle form. And Kyoaku Chojin C was never developed into a toy at all. So another weird case of, why did things happen the way they did? Well, couldn't quite tell you. Every single muscle's back for more with figure number 136, Harigoras. And taking a look at him, he definitely kind of looks like he's come out of the Lord of the Rings fantasy realm. He's like an orc or an ogre of some kind. He's pretty damn cool looking. He's got these bumps all over his arms and shoulders, and he's got 3 eyes, so he's kind of a triclops. This is definitely a guy you don't want to mess with if you bumped into him on a long journey across the realm. Now, if we're talking about the character here, he first appears and only appears in the first Kinnikuman movie as another one of the minions of Octopus Dragon. He is not the first character to be named Harigoras. There's actually another one that appears in the manga series first as a kaiju monster. That guy makes an appearance in the encyclopedia, but not this dude. He is only a anime exclusive character and therefore does not make the encyclopedia, but he did make it into toy form, and that's the most important thing of all. You know what, while we're at it, let's just do another one. It's number 137, Bermuda III, and this is the second of the Bermuda III. The first one had an oval on his face, but this one has an X on his face, and that's the main distinguishing difference between the two. They're also in slightly different poses. This guy's got his arms a little further down than the first one we've seen, and there is still one more of this trio to be named, but we'll get to him eventually. Just noting on the character, again, the Bermuda III are cousins of Black Hole, and, our guy actually has a BH on his chest, so maybe it's a closer relationship than we even realize. Now, I'll just say that I've had this particular figure and his 2 brothers since my very first 28-pack, so I'm a big fan of them, and I got them all in this great red color, so they look great together on a shelf. Every single muscle's back with figure number 138, Personal Man, and I personally am a big fan of this guy. How can you not love him? He's a little computer dude. He's got a monitor for a head and a keyboard for a torso, and what's that, a tape deck in his crotch? I don't know. His arms are what are they, suction cups? I'm not really entirely sure, but he's just got this adorable little aesthetic. He's kind of hard to stand up, but he's still a pretty great little robot dude. Looks great on a shelf with your other muscles or any other robot toys. Not a big character in the Kinnikuman franchise, just another background player, though he does pop up in the encyclopedia as you'd expect. What most notably, I think, is that he actually shows up pretty prominently on the muscle packaging. There's this comic strip that kind of gives you a little bit of backstory about muscles that appears on all the muscle packaging, and he appears in the bottom left corner of one of the frames, and he looks like he's really excited to watch the match in the ring. So there you have it. And just like that, we're at figure number 139, Tigerian, aka Moku Seijin. And I must say, I've tried uploading this video before, and I don't know why, but TikTok's algorithm doesn't like it. So we're trying again. Let's talk about the figure. He's a pretty scary, monstrous-looking muscle figure. He's got some heft to him, too. He's got this scary monster face. He's got this caveman-esque kind of loincloth thing going on, these big hands, these bare feet. He's got long hair. Pretty cool figure. And like several other figures and characters before him, this guy only appears as a one-off character in the first Kinnikuman movie as a minion of Octopus Dragon III. Now, all that said, he's not the only character to go by the name Tigerian or Moku Seijin. In the manga, a different character shares those names. That one is modeled after pro wrestler Tiger Jeet Singh and has a completely different character design. But if you ask me, this one's the real winner. After tons of technical issues, I managed to upload figure number 139, and that's how we're up to number 140. This is Terryman, or at least another Terryman, and this one looks a little bit distressed, right? He looks a little confused or a little injured or hurt. I don't really know what's going on with that exactly, but I've got this salmon-colored Terryman number 140, and I dig it. He may be a little warped. I'm not sure if that's my figure or if they're all kind of slightly in that weird shape. I will say he does resemble this moment right here that I happen to have in an animation cell of Terryman. It looks like it might be, is it from this same scene? Maybe. He looks like he's distressed, and he does look like that on my wall too, so I don't really know the situation there, but Terryman, of course, one of the main characters in the Kinnikuman franchise, Kinnikuman's closest ally, an American hero. You gotta love him. We're really cooking now with muscle figure number 141, Muscle Man, aka Kinnikuman. And if you ask me, this is the most quintessential, iconic figure in the entire line. Not just the quintessential Muscle Man or Kinnikuman sculpt, which he is, but also the most iconic figure in the entire series. And I say that because this is the version of Muscle Man or Kinnikuman who appears on the back of the packaging in the comic strip. He's wearing this exact outfit. But also, it's twofold, because for me, this was the leader of my muscle forces. This was the guy who led the fight against Terry Bull and his evil Chojin super villain wrestler bad guys when I was playing in my toy box way back in the day. But there is something else to say about this guy. There is another sculpt, number 234, which we'll get to eventually, that looks near identical to this guy. Why is that? We'll solve that mystery eventually. Stay tuned. You wanted more muscle? You got more muscle. And here we are with number 142, Bermuda III, the third of the Bermuda III. We've covered his two brothers before, and now we've covered the third one. Here he is. Just as a little recap, the Bermuda III are a trifecta, a trio of three near-identical Chojin superheroes who are actually cousins of Black Hole, a much more iconic character in the line. But they all exist in muscle form, and I've had all of them since my very first 28-pack as a kid, and I've had them all in this iconic red color, and now I'm going to show you all three of them standing together. There they are. This one's got the triangle on his face, which is how you distinguish him from his brothers who've got an X and an oval on their face, but otherwise practically identical. I'm a big fan of them. I love seeing them all standing together. It just really warms your heart, doesn't it? We're back with another Every Single Muscle, and this time it's number 143, Black Knight. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first muscle figure we've covered that's actually holding a weapon in his hand, an external weapon. He's got this crossbow-like gun thing that he's holding. He's also wearing a very cool Romanesque, almost gladiatorial helmet, and he's got a quiver of arrows on his back. So very unique sculpt in the muscle figure line. Now, if we're talking about the character, Black Knight is exclusive to the anime and only appears in the TV special, as a follower of Black King who leads the Space Bandits, and he's one of the bad guys that they have to fight in that one. There's actually another character named Black Knight who appears in one of the later movies, which is why this guy is labeled on screen Black Knight 1. There is a Black Knight 2, which we will be covering down the line, but once again, taking a look at this dude, just a very unique muscle sculpt overall, and a really cool one. We're moving on to muscle figure number 144, Mr. American. Now, he's got a pretty standard wrestler body, nothing much to speak of, but his head is wrapped in the stars and stripes, the stars and bars, if you will. Very patriotic figure. Now, that said, when I had this guy as a kid, especially because of his orange color, I didn't really notice that it was the American flag. I always thought his head looked like a big honeycomb or something, so that was my perspective on it. Now, if we're talking about the character, Mr. American first appears as one of the Lost Devil Chojin. That means when the first original 7 Devil Chojin showed up, there were some other characters that popped up with them and then inexplicably disappeared just a couple panels later, and this was one of those guys, so a very minor character in the grand scheme of things, and he makes for a pretty average-looking muscle, nothing too much to speak of, but I've had him since way back when, and I'm gonna love him as much as any of the other ones. There's no better time for an every single muscle than when I feel like it, and I feel like it right now. So here's number 145, Black Tomahawk. He's a somewhat disturbing, shirtless, bald guy wielding 2 tomahawks. That's right, he's got these 2 tomahawk axes. He looks like he's going to throw them and use them to stab you, I don't know. And if you take a good look at him, he's definitely a bit of a creepo in the face. Now, that said, there aren't a lot of muscle figures that are wielding weapons, and the ones that are usually from the Kinnikuman TV special. So yeah, this guy is an anime-exclusive character. He is one of the minions of Black King. He is one of the Space Bandits in the TV special, which is kind of basically a movie without the title movie in it. And yeah, he only shows up in that. He does not show up in the manga at all. Pretty cool guy, though. I really dig him, and you know, just having the 2 weapons, he looks pretty deadly. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. It's time for another Every Single Muscle, and this time we're here with number 146, Player Man. He's a player, a record player. If you can't tell, his head is actually a vinyl record, and his right arm here is the needle that you would use to play the record. You know, I'll say this, growing up, I had this guy. He was in my very first 28 pack, and I didn't know what he was. I thought he was just some kind of robot. I think I called him like Box or Boxy the Robot or something to that extent. It didn't really register with me what he actually was, but now I know because I'm an adult, and I bought the Kinnikuman Encyclopedia, which includes every single character and shows in full detail exactly what this guy is, as you can see here. As far as the character goes, he's a very minor character. I don't think he was really expanded upon until one of the novellas that they wrote called Deep of Muscle, and he kind of got a little bit of a backstory there, but otherwise doesn't really pop up much. Still, I really like him. He's a really unique muscle figure. Just when you thought you were all done opening presents, it's another Every Single Muscle, and this time it's number 148, Iron Commando. I'm a big fan of this guy. He's got a real sci-fi vibe, and not too many of the muscle figures do, but he does. He's got a very cyborg-esque appeal to him. He's got these shoulder pads and this big helmet and this big fist and this cool belt and boots, and you know, he just overall has a really fun vibe. He also has a little smirk on his face, so he's not too intimidating. He seems somewhat friendly. I've had this guy since my very first 28 pack. I know I've said that many times, but there were 28 guys in that set, so it happens. I always called him Pinky because I guess I didn't have an original name for him. I didn't quite nail the Iron Commando of it all. Very minor character in the series overall. I don't know that there's too much to say about him, but hey, there he is in the encyclopedia. Just take one last gander at this guy and just soak it in. It's nearly sundown here on the West Coast, so we'll consider this an early Hanukkah present. It's muscle figure number 148, Flasher Balloon. Yeah, that's a balloon on his head. That's why his head's so round. You might confuse him with Pandaman, who also occasionally has a roundish head, but no, this is a distinctly different character, and you can tell because of the somewhat BDSM-esque gear, these little spikes on his boots and sides, those little buckles on his knees, and whatever he's wearing in his upper body. That's how you can kind of tell the difference between those characters. Now, we're talking about the character himself. Flasher Balloon is one of the Lost Devil Chojin. We've talked about them before. They're characters that first appeared when the 6 Devil Chojin, the original ones, showed up in the manga series, and there were just a couple other guys with them in the first few panels who mysteriously disappeared without any trace. And this was one of them, so he didn't have much character development, but he's still a pretty fun dude, and I've had him since my very first 28 pack. I've said it before, and I'll probably be saying it again. Every single muscle's back with figure number 149, Screw Kid. Now, this is the second Screw Kid figure we've seen in the line, and there are only two, but I think it's undeniable that this is the cooler of the two figures. If you take a look at him, obviously Screw Kid's got this awesome screw for a head. It's a flathead screw. Sorry to disappoint Phillips Head fans. I don't know where I was going with that. But he's got these two, like, drilly hands. He's got these little drills on his knees, too. That really gives him the edge over the other Screw Kid, which I'll be sharing with you in a moment. But just to give you a little recap on the character, Screw Kid shows up during the tag arc as a partner of Kenkaman. He gets his butt handed to him pretty easily by our heroes, but doesn't matter. He makes for a great little figure. And here he is. I'm just going to put him side by side with the original Screw Kid figure we talked about. And there you go. See, that guy's just got two regular hands. He doesn't have these awesome drilly bits to speak of. So, yeah, I'm going to give the edge to number 149 here. We've just hit another milestone. It's muscle figure number 150, Apollo the Giant. And I've had this guy since, you guessed it, my very first 28-pack growing up. He's been by my side all these years, and I absolutely love him in this cool orange color. Let's talk about the figure itself. He's definitely got kind of a Michelin Man kind of vibe, right? He's got all these pudgy little rolls, and he's wearing boxing gloves, and he's got sort of an afro-y look. Now, let's talk about the character to explain a few of these things. The reason he's got boxing gloves on is because he's kind of named after and modeled after Apollo Creed from the Rocky movies, but he's also modeled after Andre the Giant. So that's the story of this guy. He shows up very early in the manga series as kind of a kaiju monster opponent for Kinnikuman, who he's able to defeat pretty handily, as I recall. He doesn't really show up ever again, so not much of note, but let's take one last look at this guy. Just a really delightful little figure. Once again, another stellar selection of vintage rubber goodness. It doesn't get much better than that. If you like this video, there's a part 4 coming up soon, and if it's posted already, I'll link to it right here. But if not, take a look at some of this other stuff. I'm doing toy hunts. I'm doing deep dives into obscure toy lines. I'm talking every single battle beast. And most importantly, I'm talking every single muscle.